Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kings of Horror. My name is William Bibbiani. I'm the film channel editor at CraveOnline, the co-host of the B-Movies podcast, and everyone calls me Bibbs.
And I'm Ryan Turek, the managing editor of SHOCKTILLYOUDROP.com, and welcome to the Kings of Horror, where every day throughout the month of October, Bibbs and I are going to be looking at theatrically released horror films based on the works of Stephen King.
And today, we're starting with the very first Stephen King horror movie based on the very first Stephen King horror novel, Brian De Palma's Carrie. The original Carrie stars Sissy Spacek as a repressed young girl who can move things with her mind. No, she's not Matilda. She's a ticking time bomb of rage, primed by her religious zealot mother, Piper Laurie, and set off by a whole school of bullies who sabotage the happiest moment of her life at the school prom, sealing their own telekinetic doom. Brian De Palma's Carrie is a really great movie, and part of what makes it so great is the simplicity of it. The story is extremely straightforward, and that makes it really universal. If there's a downside to Carrie, it's that the film itself is actually really entrenched in its time period. Brian De Palma uses a lot of 1970s storytelling cinematic tropes that may turn it into a museum piece at some point in the near future, but once it gets going in the third act, it is pure horror gold. Ryan?
I completely agree. I mean, rewatching it recently, it is definitely of its time. I love the color scheme of it. I don't mind the style of De Palma's split screen style. I mean, I think that stuff is timeless. It's Pino Donaggio's music. That certainly sets it back a little bit. But I mean, in terms of, this is the ultimate bully tale, and it resonates. The performances are terrific. The characterizations of the teens themselves resonate. You know,
they're so vicious, and that's what makes them so universal. They're so petty and disgusting.
And the teachers themselves. I mean, there's no way today teachers could do what the teachers do in this film.
Carrie's own gym teacher, who's trying to support her, even she says, "Even I'm annoyed by Carrie. Even I wanted to slap her," and I did.
Yeah,
I did. But what's interesting to me is that the first 2/3 of this movie play like any other teen movie from the '70s. It could be a coming-of-age tale. It could be an exploitation film. It could be porn. It looks a lot like Debbie Does Dallas with all the cheerleading
shot
scenes.
That way,
yeah. But then it just goes completely bonkers the way that we all love. We all love it when Brian De Palma does, and it's so gorgeous in every way up until the end.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, going back to the vicious teens. I mean, the teachers themselves. I love that. There's so much mounting against Carrie. You get why there's this rage coming out, at the very end. Not a reference to the sequel, of course. I'm sorry.
We'll get there.
But I mean, I love, like I said, it's the characters and the situations that really make this gold for me. And obviously Sissy Spacek herself, plays it to the rafters along with Piper Laurie.
Piper Laurie just gives one of her great performances, and that's
beautifully kooky.
And she's amazing in everything.
Yeah.
And they're just, it's interesting how over the top you can take a religious zealot upbringing and still have it feel real because it's really abusive.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we're going to see a lot of this in Stephen King movies, where Stephen King clearly has some issue with religion controlling people's lives and turning them into the ultimate ironic reversal of that.
Yeah, well, this certainly sets the stage for a lot of themes that we're going to be seeing throughout King's, oeuvre. Oeuvre. We're going to use the big words here. Because you've got, teens against adults. We see that a lot coming out in the other films. I mean, not that the gym teacher here is bad at all.
No, she's just flawed.
Yeah, but you've got the principal who's constantly, screwing up Carrie's name, calling her Cassie. All the adults in these films kind of play not so much like enemies, but you certainly, there's this clash. There's this weird youth versus adult clash that's constantly playing out in King's films, and it certainly starts here.
Ryan, what would you give Carrie?
Well, I would give Carrie 4.5 out of 5 Kings. I think that the subject matter itself is timeless, if, the soundtrack and the style is not, but definitely a terrific, terrific film.
I'm going to give Carrie a straight 4 out of 5 Kings. It's a wonderful movie. That's a high recommendation. I'm not going to be giving a lot of 4.5s and 5s on this show. It's excellent. It's a little dated at times, but I do think that all adds to part of its appeal.
All right, that about does it for this episode of Kings of Horror. Come back tomorrow as we look at Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Red Rum! Red Rum!
That's not my kid.